So for step 21, attaching the servo. Well, this is where we're going to install the servo into the chassis, but we also have to place this arm onto the servo, but then it's going to attach onto the ball right here, which is going to move the steering below. So that is going to attach to that, and then obviously you've got your steering, and we've got to make the steering adjustment. So we need to build this arm, and I've got the pieces right here, and then of course we've got our hardware with the bar and screws and washers. So we're going to need to build this to the 32 millimeters, and then we've got another little piece right here that needs to be installed in order to put the servo on top of that. So I'll set this up, and the first thing we'll do is let's build this arm, and then we can get everything else attached. So let's get this arm built, and first of all we're going to need to screw these on to either end, and we'll see if these move easily. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Well, one seems to, so I'm going to screw one in a fair ways. But like I've mentioned before, if you have a pair of shock pliers, it's awesome because you've got a nice firm grip, and then you can twist these on. So just with the shock, even though they're shock pliers, you can use them for all sorts of things. So this is great. Let's see. I'll put this on there. Nope, needs a little bit more. This side wants to spin easier than the other, so that's fine. I've got one in where it needs to be. Well, it's looking pretty good there. That's, according to the diagram, it's at the 32 millimeters. Now, like I've said before, I like to do a full check. So if I put the end on here, just to make sure, and it's looking like it's pretty much at the 32 millimeters. So I think we're okay. So that's great. Just another final test, but yeah, I'm happy with that. So there is our steering arm that we're going to need to install onto this. So now that that is done, let's install this piece right here, which is going to go onto the chassis. So if we grab our servo for a minute, and you can see how this is going to sit. This is going to sit underneath like that, and then there's a screw that's going to attach it to the chassis. Now, because that's got to go onto there, and then there's another one that's going to fit top corner of that servo onto that piece right there, which I'll show you in a minute. I think what we'll do is let's get the screw attached to this piece first, just like that. So if we grab our screw and a washer, we're going to screw this into here first. So if I grab my screwdriver, I just want to make sure that that is sitting more or less correct. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to attach this completely because there may be some fine tuning, but I think that's easier to get it on to that first. So then if you take a look at how this is going to fit, we need to fit this onto here, which means that you can see here, there's the hole that's got to go into. So that, and make sure your wire from the servo is below, that's going to end up fitting onto there. And you can see that fine tuning, there's going to be a little bit of movement, but you can see on this end, it has to go into this hole on there. So if we do that one, we know that we're going to need to grab a screw. We're going to need to grab our washer. And we're going to need to screw that into that hole. That one, I think we will get into there. Because this one, there's really no adjustment, right? It's a single hole. It's just a matter of moving the servo around a little bit here, which is fine. So now, if you take this side, we know that that's on. So this part here can be pushed into place. And of course, there's movement in terms of, you know, depending on the size of the servo, this could have been moved back or forward. Well, we now know where that needs to sit. So we're going to screw that one in. And again, just because of where that's positioned, I'm going to make sure that that is correct, which it seems to be right there. So that's on solid, which means now we can tighten this screw because we know that's in the right place as well. I'm just doing a final check all the way around. So there you go. So there is our servo in place with the 3 screws. So now what we're going to do is we're going to attach our steering arm, which is going to be on this side, then on this. Now, I have decided that I'm going to attach it to this side, but I want to leave this out just so I have the ability to do final adjustments. So if I grab the pliers, there we go, that's in place. And I could attach it, but let's just do a final check to make sure that everything is looking correct. So here's a perfect example of what I was talking about. You can see that they want this to be completely parallel so that the arms or the uprights are straight. And if we had, back in step 18, snapped these on, it wouldn't have been correct. And I'm going to show you why. If you look at this, and we'll do this from above, if I get this side on, and I'm not attaching it yet, if we put that on there, notice that on the right hand side it's off. And if I adjust it for the right hand side, the left is off. So we still need to do an adjustment here to make this work. So I'm going to need to take off or spin one of these sides so that we can get these completely parallel and across. Because right now it's not. One's curved in, one isn't. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to adjust the length of these to make sure that they are parallel and completely level all the way across. So I went ahead and made the adjustments on this one for now. So you can see that if I have this here, it's pretty level on the other side. And I mean, we know we're going to have to make another adjustment. So I can move this around to where it needs to be. And that'll happen on the other side, and I'll show you. So like, let's say that that's the placement we want, which looks pretty much level all the way across. On this side, we still have to adjust this. So if we have this level, and I know it's hard to see on camera, but if we were to have this level, then this needs to sit there. And you notice I'm going to have to spin this further down so that it's going to be level. Because otherwise, if we leave it as this, and I push this on, which I'm not going to, notice on the left-hand side, the steering is turned in. So I've done the adjustment on the outside to make this level. I now have to adjust this to make sure that it stays level. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that off camera. And then I'll come back and I'll show you how this has worked out. So I'm not sure that you can see this or not, but if you look at where the axles are at the front, I've pretty much leveled them out completely straight. And in order to make that work on this end, I had to turn this in more so that this wasn't going to move. Because if this moves, well, then it's not going to be straight anyway. As you can see down below, it's going to be out of whack. So I have put it in place. You can see that these are level. So now I feel confident that this can be put on. So now what we're just going to do is use our pliers, and we'll snap that ball connector on. And there we go. So now our steering mechanism is completely in place and attached. And you can see, hopefully, if you look at the way that's sitting now, that is level and that is level. So I'm happy with it, is basically what I'm saying. But it did require some adjustments on this end and some adjustments on this end. So when they're telling you to snap on those ball connectors, I would strongly suggest you wait until they're talking about the steering adjustment before you snap them on. Otherwise, you're going to have to snap them off again, and I don't like doing that. So we can now move on to step 22 and install the RC equipment.